So I'm pleased to present Senate Bill 256. A few months ago I took my 7-year-old to a birthday party his friend had. It was at a trampoline park center, and it is a large place where you have trampolines strung together, and it's sort of different rooms, and they're very large, and you have kids and adults jumping together on them. They also usually have a foam pit where you can sort of dive in head first and sort of land. And when I took my son in, I sort of never saw one of these things, and I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And then they made me sign something that waived every possible whatever right in the world. But it was his birthday party for a friend, and so I did that.
What a rights for a birthday.
Right. So they proceeded to do no training. They did nothing. They simply gave the kids shoes for the trampolines and then told them go jump. And so afterwards I thought, you know, that looks sort of dangerous to me. And when you look at some of these advertisements, websites for these trampoline parks, you'll see people doing backflips. And if you actually are an amateur and don't know what you're doing, you do a backflip, you land wrong, you'll break your neck and you will die. Or maybe you'll be paralyzed. And then as we looked into some further, we realized that these are quite dangerous. And they are in essence similar to amusement type rides. And California regulates amusement parks and rides, except there was a specific exception carved out for trampolines. And this bill basically closes that loophole. And Cal-OSHA now will have the ability to regulate these trampoline centers. And the reason is the American Academy of Pediatrics has estimated that there are almost 98,000 trampoline-related injuries in the U.S., resulting in 3,100 hospitalizations. They have taken a position against trampoline parks. They note that the rates of trampoline injury appear higher for children than in adults. Sometimes what you'll see is this little kid and this very large adult jumping together, and if the adult were to fall on the kid, it could hurt them or injure them. In addition, a nonprofit called Think Before You Bounce did a study that showed that the rate of injury for trampoline parks is an average of 2.0 to 2.7 per 1,000 hours of use. That injury rate is more than 4 times higher than downhill skiing and more than 200 times higher than permanent amusement rides. And then we have cases such as the case of Ty Thomason, who was a vibrant 30-year-old man who thought the trampoline park he was in Phoenix, in Arizona, was safe. He unfortunately went there. He broke his neck while at the facility doing one of these things, and then he died later that day, and he was untreated for 17 minutes because no one was monitoring. This bill would address this problem by creating an Inspection and Safety Act modeled after the Permanent Amusement Ride Act and closes a loophole for trampoline parks. Specifically, the bill would require Cal-OSHA to enforce that the design of all current and future trampoline parks adhere to specific safety standards for trampoline parks. It requires Cal-OSHA to periodically inspect the trampoline parks for safety. Requires trampoline park owners to report to Cal-OSHA within 24 hours any serious injury that requires more than first aid. Requires trampoline park owners to train their employees on the safe operation and emergency procedures for these parks, and requires the park owners to insure against liability for at least $1 million per incident. I have witnesses here in support and respect requests.
Thank you. Those in support of the bill. My name is Tom Paper, and I'm the president of Think Before You Bounce. We're a California nonprofit organization. We organized ourselves in 2011 after some friends and I realized that we knew several people who'd been seriously injured at trampoline parks. Our mission is to make trampoline parks safer through awareness, design, and regulation. We didn't know much about trampoline parks when we started, but we do now, and we know that they're very dangerous places. And Senator Lieu highlighted the statistics about how dangerous they are. The owners of the trampoline parks have characterized them as an extreme sport. And so that tells you something about how dangerous they are.
For liability purposes.
Yeah, well, I want to address that question of liability in a minute here, because that's part of what's going on, and maybe I'll do that right now. Trampoline parks actually used to exist in California. As best we can tell, they were they could no longer function because they received so many lawsuits that they couldn't afford insurance, and they went out of business. Well, since that time, waivers have changed. And it's now harder for a consumer to sue a business, and it's more on the business side. And I did want to, if I may, read something from one of their waivers, because it's really staggering. This says, furthermore, Sky High Sports employees have difficult jobs to perform. They seek safety, but they are not infallible. They might be unaware of a participant's fitness or abilities. They may give incomplete warnings or instructions, and the equipment being used might become loose, out of adjustment, or malfunction. There is also a risk that Sky High Sports employees may be negligent in, among other things, monitoring and supervising use of its equipment and facilities, and in the maintenance and repair of its equipment and facilities. You know, I'm just speechless at that. There, of course, you know, who reads the waivers? But there it is. If you read it, you're going to find out that they're saying we're not. If our employees are negligent, it's not our fault, and you've signed that right away.
Employees or equipment.
Yeah, both, exactly. Look, I mean, Senator Lieu started the statistics. My main job is as a business consultant, and we actually commissioned a study, and we witnessed 5,000 people entering trampoline parks to corroborate the data that we found. We also corroborated it further by the 911 calls from Sky High in Santa Clara to the Santa Clara Police Department. Can I read just a couple of the...
If briefly, we don't have any opposition on the bill, so. Oh, late opposition, okay. If you could briefly.
Double backflip, landed on neck, can't move but breathing okay. Head injury, jumped on dodgeball court, and another subject's tooth went into patient's head. Broken leg, bone sticking out. We estimate that there are about 3 million people, at least 3 million people attending trampoline parks every year. There's about 6,000 injuries. About 600 of those we think are very serious. Our bill is supported by several individuals. I just wanted to tell you about them briefly. Senator Dr. Hank Chambers, who's the senior attending pediatric orthopedic surgeon at Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, sent a letter in support of our law. Kathy Fackler, who led the original law that regulates permanent amusement rides, has written a letter in support. And William Avery, who's a nationally recognized safety consultant, has said, trampoline parks are like planning a disaster. It's not if, but when these type of parks will generate fractures and quadriplegics.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else in support?
Hi, my name's Misha. I first became familiar with the trampoline park when we went on a company trip, team building event to one of these places, and it wasn't characterized as some kind of super dangerous place, but looking around, I saw some risks. I'd seen the injury before, and what I saw was there was just a very gross lack of safety education and enforcement. The only thing I had as far as safety education was they made us watch a token safety video in which a daredevil type of guy was basically saying, oh, don't double jump, don't do backflips, right as he does a backflip off a structure. So I went to this place with my coworkers, and I was very careful to just listen to all these rules that I learned from the safety video, because I really did not want to get hurt. And what happened was I just couldn't believe it. I didn't fall or anything. I just jumped from one pad to another, and then I landed on an angled wall trampoline, which the video had noted that it has different tension, but it didn't speak about anything else about it or any of its dangers. And as soon as I came off that angled wall trampoline, it was like 45 or 60 degrees or something like that. I heard a very loud snap when I was still in the air. And I realized that probably wasn't the trampoline. I figured it was probably something inside my body, and I just kind of made this quick decision to just land as safely as I could, and I had pretty much 10 out of 10, and I'm very conservative about my pain scale. And I had 10 out of 10 pain, and it was just, then after that, there was just, the staff just could not provide proper care. They didn't know what to do, pretty much. I knew immediately that I was really hurt, so I called for an ambulance, and so somebody called for an ambulance. The staff members, there were 2 staff members, 2 ladies, young ladies in their 20s, who attended to me, and it was pretty clear they didn't know what they were doing at all. One of them actually offered to remove my shoes for me, and fortunately I knew well enough that not to touch anything until the paramedics arrived. So I advised them not to do anything, and it seemed like an eternity, but the paramedics actually came quickly because they knew about this place, how dangerous it was. I heard that sometimes there's like an ambulance or paramedics just pretty much camped outside there. When the paramedics arrived, they cut open my pant leg, and it turned out I had an open compound fracture of the tibia. It actually turned out to be comminuted, which means it was in several fragments. There were actually 3 pieces of the tibia, and that was 2 years ago. I'm still in a lot of pain every day, and I'm never going to be 100% recovered, the doctors have told me. And this has just changed my life completely, and I don't want to see it happen to other people. There was no explanation of the kind of levels of risk that were at this place. Like, there was this waiver, I read the waiver, I went through it very carefully. I actually read all the waivers, and it seemed very boilerplate. It seemed like the same kind of waiver you'd sign at an amusement park, or maybe if you're going on a guided horseback tour. It's like, yes, death is possible pretty much anywhere. You can get hit by a rock from the sky.
We appreciate your coming to the committee and telling us your story. Given that it was a team-building exercise at your place of employment, I hope that your employer has been very supportive throughout all this.
They've been extremely supportive.
Glad to hear it. Thank you, Misha.
Thank you.
Others in support?
Yes. I don't want to put my back. Okay.
He's used to it, so.
Hi, my name is Maureen Curley, and I live in San Diego, and I would like to tell you what happened to my son.
Please.
I will probably have to read some of this. Okay. On February 2nd, 2012, my son, Ty Thomason, was working for Yelp. He went to a trampoline park located in Phoenix, Arizona. He was the one that orchestrated it as a team-building event. Prior to this, he had told me about this park because he had gone online to read about it. He was 30 years old. Thank you. He was 30 years old, and he had a very bright future ahead of him. I would like to read you what the web page advertisement says. Do you like performing extreme aerial moves? Whether you are trying out a new backflip or performing a 720 front flip, our foam pit will allow you to explore your aerial creativity in a soft, safe environment. Ty was there for less than an hour when he did a half gainer into the middle of the foam pit. He landed exactly in the middle of this foam pit. He did nothing crazy. He tucked his head and he went through the foam pit like butter. A majority of the employees that were working at the trampoline park were less than 18 years old. They had no CPR. They had no emergency procedure in place. The individual who called 911 was was an employee of Yelp. His team leader was in front of him, and she asked the patron, she asked the employee, was there anything that they were not allowed to do? And she said no. When I arrived at the hospital, I was met by the trauma doctor, and he told me to be prepared for a bad outcome. Ty broke his neck in 5 places. When the fire department arrived, they were unable to get him out of the foam pit, so they had to remove the foam. He went without oxygen somewhere between 18 and 18 minutes. Within 24 hours of being at the hospital, we were asked a question that no one here would ever want to be asked about a child. Did your son want to be a donor? My son passed away February 5th. We soon found out that week that the foam pit where Ty met his tragic death was only 2 feet 7 inches deep. The materials that they used to construct the foam pit were of poor quality. I visited an overwhelming amount of trampoline parks. A majority of them had pits less than 3 feet. When I asked the employees that were watching the patrons jump if they knew the depth of the pit, none of them knew it. There were no signs posted to let anybody know the depth of these foam pits. We do not let our children jump into a pool that is a play pool that is completely black and they cannot see the bottom of it from a diving board. Why is this allowed at a trampoline park? I am dumbfounded that anybody would build a foam pit less than 3 feet. You can Google right now, how deep do you build a foam pit? The first page will come up and every site tells you minimum 6 feet. Why do the owners not build it? Is it cost effective? I am sure there's going to be companies that will come out and say that they can help with the construction and the design and the management of their safety, and that is great. But who is going to regulate them? Who will make the owners accountable to implement the knowledge? Obviously, they don't even Google this. ASTM has come out or will be coming out with guidelines. But once again, who's going to make them follow these guidelines? I have been a small business owner and I am all for fair enterprise. But my son did not have a price for his life. I am not for owners to be able to make a profit cutting costs. Why is there no regulation? The mere fact that the waivers say that you could be critically injured, paralyzed, or even die tells you that the parks are aware of this. They say jump within your ability. What is your ability? My son was an excellent athlete. He played football at ASU. You have no control on how you're going to jump up, the angle you're going to come down, or the velocity that you will hit. I am not here today to try to abolish trampolines. I am pleading with the state of California to please be the leaders in the industry and save and protect our children. My son Ty should not have died. We have an obligation to protect our children. This is not a state problem. This is a national problem. It's not a question of if. It will happen again. But this bill will help reduce the risk. Next time someone goes to a trampoline park, let there be a sticker that shows that they are in compliance with OSHA. Let the parents know that they have followed the guidelines and they have the construction and the material and the safety in place. Let trampoline parks all play by the same rules. Let them be on the same playing ground. It is too late for my son. He will not be here for my daughter's upcoming wedding. He will not see the birth of his other sister's child. I will never hold him in my arms again or listen to the laughter of his children. But hopefully, by passing this bill, you will protect your son, your daughter, your grandchildren, or someone you love They deserve it. So I stand behind this bill, and I ask you to please educate the public and let them know that waivers, LLCs cannot protect owners. And I honestly believe owners would want this. I believe in the good of mankind. I believe they want to do the right thing. I believe that they would be proud to say that their park meets the standards and that they are doing everything that they can to protect our children. I want to thank you for listening and giving me the chance to help my son and help your children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. We're, of course, very sorry to hear of Ty's tragedy, your enormous loss. And we're going to do something about this. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support of Senator Lieu's bill? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition?
Chairman Leno, this is the primary reason I'm here today. My name is Ryan Fillmore, and I'm a parent of two trampoline gymnasts who are on their way to the National Junior Olympics this summer in Kansas City, Missouri. I've been involved in trampoline and tumbling sport as a parent and as a volunteer for almost a decade now, and it was heart-wrenching to hear the story of her son's loss. I have also been standing and watching my son get injured on trampoline. He was attempting a maneuver, and he ended up landing on his head, and he bruised his sternum with his chin. Fortunately, it did not end up being a compromise to his long-term health. But the reason I'm here today is because I'm concerned about the scope of this particular bill. I really appreciate Chairman Senator Lieu's bringing this bill forward, but I want to bring to this committee's attention a couple of key items. If I could draw your attention to page 4 under item number 2, possible amendments. I have been in communication with USA Gymnastics. I do not speak for them. However, I have been in direct communication with them, and one of the concerns that I have as a parent who's been involved in the sport for a number of years is the story that you just heard I have never seen at a gymnastics gym. At gymnastics gyms, the exact opposite is true.
Mr. Fillmore, not to cut you off, but my mistake. I should have, at the very beginning of the hearing, asked Senator Lieu if he was prepared to accept the amendments.
I'm accepting amendments, so it should take care of his issue.
Between lines 9 and 10, and also on page 4, line 10. You'll take those as author
Accepting those amendments, that's correct.
So I appreciate your advocacy. You think that makes the bill
Thank you, sir.
bill.
Senator Lieu, with one minor suggestion, instead of the and, to substitute an or, because I believe as written the amendments are actually more restrictive than absolutely necessary in terms of covering different types of professional gymnastics type of associations.
Thank you. We will look at that as the bill
Certainly.
continues.
Because
we'll continue working with you.
I want to make sure it's not just limited to trampoline and tumbling programs, but it's also diving programs. It's also track and field that use trampolines in a professional manner and with proper coaching and proper staffing. So.
Committee will take that under consideration.
All right, thank you. If you have no further questions, I'll conclude my statements. Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to speak in opposition? As the bill is proposed to be amended.
Hello, my name is Robert Ito. I am currently the Director of Risk Management for Sky Zone Franchise Group. We currently operate about 33 indoor trampoline parks in the country. In my former life, I was a gymnast who started in competition on trampoline, and I was the head coach at the University of Washington for the women's gymnastics team for 10 years. I'm here to speak on behalf of a new industry and help to give you some perspective. And before I start, our condolences to Ms. Curley. That was a very tragic story, and certainly not something anyone wants to see happen in their business or in a sport. And doing what we need to do to drive out the bad actors is certainly appropriate. Now, as a new industry, I want to put on the table that we provide value to our guests. In this modern age, to have an activity where people can come as a family and have a lot of fun and more importantly, get some solid exercise, I think is really important. Our kids and our families spend too much time sitting down in front of electronic devices, exercising their thumbs, whereas in a trampoline park, if properly used, they're going to burn off 1,000 calories an hour. It's really, really good exercise, as I will attest because it had a lot to do with my development as a young man. According to the estimated data you were provided, the injury rates are 0.002 or 2/1,000th of a percent to 2/10,000th of a percent. The actual injury rates from Sky Zone are even lower than that we've been able to tease out of our statistics from last year. And if you compare that to the injury rates in other sports, tennis, golf, lacrosse, hockey, horseback riding, softball, baseball, skateboard, cycling, basketball, and football, those start at 0.17% and peak at 4.85%, many magnitudes higher. Soccer has, for athletes above the age of 12, much higher injury rates. They have concussion rates that are comparable to football. So if we're looking at gross injury rates, then I think that it's important to understand that the industry, amongst the good people, the good actors, is operating at really levels that you would want to see, at very, very low injury levels. The most dangerous activity that a child or a parent could be involved in attending a trampoline park is driving there, not in the actual attendance of the trampoline park. Now, we also have to consider what are the unintended consequences of a regulation scheme that would be onerous enough to drive people out of the business. Obesity rates in this country are about 18%, and they're from inactivity. Taking away a fun activity that children want to attend, want to participate in, would have that unintended consequence. I would ask you to consider that any activity that involves motion, competition, any activity that gets the body up and moving carries with it the inherent risk of injury. At Sky Zone, we try very, very hard to educate our patrons with the waiver, with a video, with a rule speech that is required to be given to every guest that outlines what they should and should not do. It does ask them to stay within their own specific limitations, and we can't decide what those limitations are. But we try as hard as we can to provide an environment where they can enjoy themselves and not completely change the tenor of the activity. So I would ask you to think about the unintended consequences of what might occur if we come up with a regulation scheme that basically drives the good actors out of the business.
Thank you, Mr. Ito. Just a very brief question, yes or no answer is fine. So it's your organization's belief that there's no need for a safety program for inspection of trampoline parks?
We do not believe that there is no need. In fact, we as an organization, that's why I'm there. I'm the outside person that's brought in to do that.
More specifically, inspection by the Division of Occupational Safety and Health.
Well, and if I could answer, I don't think it's necessary because the ASTM guidelines that are going to be adopted are going to drive people out of the business who are not doing it correctly, because after a year, those people will not be able to be insured. The insurance companies will not insure them.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ito. Others in opposition?
Yes. My name is Dave Schaefer, and I'm co-founder of House of Air, which is a standalone indoor trampoline park in the Presidio of San Francisco. We opened in September of 2010, and we currently employ 15 full-time and 35 part-time employees. I'm here today on behalf of my industry because we are new, and it is imperative that you better understand what this proposed bill would accomplish. There are roughly 125 trampoline parks in the U.S., about 25 of which are located in California, with an estimated annual revenue of $50 million. We are an extremely inventive and entrepreneurial bunch, growing an industry from scratch in less than a decade. We've created an exciting and entirely new activity for the public at large to engage in healthy and interactive fun. In fact, the comment I receive most often from our customers is simply, "Thank you for building this in San Francisco." As you can see, I'm most definitely proud of House of Air. Senate Bill 256 represents a blow to California trampoline parks that will end industry growth in this state, if not destroy it altogether. It is a bill that was written without input from a single trampoline park owner, operator, or any type of industry professional. The bill borrows rules passed appropriately to govern the $20 billion permanent amusement park industry, which provides rides for passive customers
and applies these rules to our trampoline courts where customers participate actively and govern their own movement. The most shocking aspect of SB 256 is that it almost completely ignores the ASTM standards for trampoline parks that took our industry nearly 18 months to draft. Two things became clear early on in our industry. One, trampoline courts, like any other amusement device or activity, could be dangerous if designed, constructed or operated by individuals without previous trampoline knowledge and experience. Two, we as an industry needed to come together and draft a set of standards to self-regulate. The amusement industry is littered with junior startup businesses that chased the money first and ran into major safety problems later. We want to professionalize our industry immediately and avoid this pitfall. In December of 2011, a group of trampoline park owners, operators, and industry professionals from all over the country, who would normally be locked in competition with each other, got together to share information and best practices in the interest of safety. 13 individuals were on that first WebEx call, and now our ASTM task group distribution list is over 90 people. We have reached out to and received input from an extensive range of professionals, including state and federal regulators, amusement industry professionals, engineers, biomechanics experts, consumer advocates, risk management inspectors, insurance professionals, trampoline and gymnastics experts, as well as trampoline park owners and operators. Our task group has reached out to membership of ASTM F24 Task Group for Amusement Rides and Devices, ASTM F08 membership, Task Group for Consumer Trampolines, and the International Association of Trampoline Parks, as well as the Council for Amusement and Recreational Equipment, which is called CARES. 5 of us flew to Washington, D.C. to meet with regulators from the U.S. Consumer Products and Safety Commission. We have logged over 50 individual WebEx conference calls and 15 days of in-person meetings at locations throughout the U.S. for an estimated total of 10,000 volunteer hours. We have created a significant and comprehensive set of standards, every word of which has been drafted with safety first in mind. The individuals we sought out for advice are the experts, and they have put in the time in our industry to understand the needs of our customers and our parks. The resulting standard is a win for everyone. The customers benefit from uniform safety protocols and procedures. The manufacturers and operators benefit from uniform construction and quality assurance standards. The insurance industry is provided with best practice standards, and the regulatory agencies are provided with a well-researched, well-thought-out set of standards that will be updated regularly as our industry grows and matures. In conclusion, I applaud the state's attempt to regulate our industry. As I've already stated, there is a clear need for trampoline park regulation. However, we cannot and do not support this bill, or any other bill that does not include a majority, if not the entire standard, developed by the ASTM Trampoline Parks Task Group. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Welcome. We had 3 speakers in support of the bill. We've already had 3 speakers in opposition. So if you could give your name, identification, and if you want to make a very brief statement, please.
I understand. My name's Wayne Pierce. I'm here as General Counsel for the International Association of Trampoline Parks. I also am legal advisor for the group that you heard Dave mention, the Council of Amusement and Recreational Equipment Safety, which is more than 30 regulatory agencies in this country. I'm basically here to answer your question, which is that the industry would like to be able to work with Senator Lieu. We've had a preliminary discussion with individuals in his office to make this a win-win for everyone. That's really what I want to say. Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. I would imagine the author will accept your invitation. Adelaide, do you want to respond to anything, Mr.
Sure. I seem to be attracting incredibly late opposition these days. So we are happy to work with all stakeholders. We actually asked them if they had specific amendments to the bill. They did not, but I will work with the industry. I just note that if the argument of the industry is that they will go out of business if they're put under Cal-OSHA regulation, then maybe that's an industry that needs to go out of business. But if they are willing to be regulated like every other industry, such as permanent amusement park rides, and we're happy to work with them on what those regulations should be. I do note that, in fact, I did take my 7-year-old son to Sky Zone. No training video, no training whatsoever. They didn't see a thing, and they were just given shoes, and then they were gone and jumping on these trampolines. And because of the way they're put together, they do have different tensions, as one of the witnesses said. And so some of the tensions are a lot more flexible, some are much harder, and then they are angled. And then if you look at these websites that they have, you watch people doing backflips. And so the comparison isn't really between trampoline parks and playing baseball, like Little League, where they have helmets and so on. It's between comparing things like baseball to, you know, gymnastics and to sports gymnastics and so on. This is not like baseball. This is recreational. It's more like an amusement park ride, and that's why we're trying to close a loophole that they currently have, where they are just not regulated. And what's going to drive this industry out of business is not regulation. It's when the public finds out people are dying and getting injured at these trampoline parks. And I would hope the industry would want to get the bad actors out, elevate their standards they currently have, and that's what will keep them in business.
We've heard our testimony for and against. If I was listening carefully, I think Mr. Schaefer was suggesting, and Mr. Pierce, that they do want to work with you. So it may be different from Mr. Ito's presentation, but I think you've got some willing partners here. We have a motion from Senator Yee, and the motion is to pass the bill as proposed to be amended, as we've already discussed. Roll, please.
Lieu?
Aye.
Lieu, aye. Wyland? Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Padilla? Yee? Yee, aye.
We'll place the bill on call.